Hey all, here are OS Reviews. Over the years, we had a chance to check out a number of really cool / cute mini Bluetooth speakers. So for example, some models have tried to imitate tiny record players with even spinning motors on top, although it doesn't actually play back any vinyls, of course. It still is a Bluetooth speaker at the end of the day. Other ones in kind of the retro design language have included models we've seen from Devoom, including their Fairy, as well as the Ditto pixel art speakers, as well as other competitors from Musen, which are more styled after kind of tactical flashlight / radio type devices, compared to more sci-fi as well as futuristic styled speakers from Gravistar are available as well. But at the end of the day, all of these products do pretty similar task, which is playback music by connecting it to your phone, tablet, or computer, offering higher volume output as well as better quality compared to what is on your mobile devices already because of a larger driver underneath. It's just a ton of different styles that you can pick between. So today we're taking a look at yet another cool mini Bluetooth speaker. This one though is styled after a phonograph, aka gramophones, which were kind of the first music playback devices. So going really retro with the entire vibe here. In fact, the top portion actually reminds me a lot of something like a Grammy Award trophy, which also takes inspiration from the gramophone with its iconic horn-like structure there, which is meant to amplify the music being played back, originally invented by Thomas Edison in 1877. This was of course a time before any electronic music players existed, and it was considered as uncanny because of the way that you could literally preserve sound and then play it back. And so this again takes inspiration from that. It's called the AS31. The actual driver, of course, is in the cabinet portion down below, and otherwise does have a built-in FM radio as well, offering an alternative to Bluetooth as well as wired 3.5mm connection that you can opt for instead. What's neat is that this model is really affordable. In fact, with coupons available at checkout, it comes down to under $30. So it is more cost effective compared to many of the other models that we mentioned there previously. Exact dimensions here measuring 11 inches tall and around 3.4 inches deep. And a 1,800 milliamp hour capacity battery can last for around 8 hours of playback time before the power runs out. Of course, you can still use it while it's being charged as well. So the packaging here is quite simple, just reiterate some of the specs using Bluetooth 5.3, so relatively energy efficient, 7-watt drivers on here. And then in the box, aside from the speaker, you have just a quick user guide along with a USB Type-C charging cable, pretty standard stuff, and a 3.5mm aux cable. And taking a closer look at the design of the AS23, I will say that compared to the other past models we've seen, it's definitely the largest yet in terms of dimensions. Here it is next to a standard soda can in terms of size, so the kind of horn portion on top, of course, adds just a little bit more to the height, despite the fact that it's still relatively lightweight, and it's constructed mostly out of a polycarbonate plastic shell that is imitating wood down below here, but again, relatively inexpensive. And then in here we can see the 7-watt driver, along with a dial here that you can use to turn for turning on the speaker. And you can further use the dial afterwards to change things like volume, making it louder versus more quiet, skip tracks, as well as play and pause your music, and go through several different playback modes if desired. Now on the very back here, the illusion kind of breaks. You can tell it's more of a regular plastic texture. And you'll find also a full-size USB Type-A port along with a micro SD card slot, which can be used to play back music directly loaded into it, like an MP3 player if you're not connecting it to any device. And the Type-A port here is used as a power bank function, which is a bonus. So if you plug it into your smartphone, for example, it can provide a little bit of juice when on the go, although of course, keep in mind it's going to be relatively standard charging speeds, nothing super fast. And it's not the biggest cell to begin with, so it's more of an emergency function, but still nice to find, with overall a pretty good level of detail work on the molded plastic. A tiny little record can be found on the top, although the arm here with the stylus can't actually physically move, and it doesn't really spin, unlike the other model that we saw there from before. However, you are able to move the kind of horn portion on top. You can actually bend it, and this part is completely flexible using a memory wire coated in soft silicones if you want to position it more to the side versus in the middle, higher versus lower. So it's kind of fun to play with, and also has quite a bit of detail work going on. And there is no sound that comes out of this little horn, but still looks quite cool, I have to say, if you are into this vintage style and retro theme. turning the volume down there, overall impressions being that it actually sounds quite good for a still relatively compact size speaker at the end of the day. There is actually a touch of bass, surprisingly, so if you listen to a drum beat in genres like pop or EDM, it's actually kind of satisfying and gives you a sufficient level of immersion, I would say. As you turn the volume up, it actually fills up a smaller room without too many problems, and definitely gets much louder compared to any smartphone or laptop speaker that's built on in. Again, because it is using a pretty up-to-date version of a Bluetooth chip, at least there wasn't really any latency problems that I could detect. When just playing back a video, it could still sync up with the audio without too many problems. That being said, again, there's not too many other moving mechanical parts on here aside from that horn. It doesn't, for example, again, spin the tiny record using a motor. There are no additional LED lights, which might have been kind of cool if they added it inside the cabinet portion to kind of glow up the speaker. Alternatively, the dial portion up top here, but you don't get some of those finer detail work. That being said, of course, it also conserves a little bit of power without any of those LEDs being present. And there wasn't too much distortion going on at higher volume levels either. Generally pleasing enough for things like vocals as well as instrumentals with the mids and trebles. That being said, it's not really a hi-fi speaker either, and like I said, not really a boombox in terms of having an extra large passive radiator for even more bass that is earth-shattering, but for a tabletop size, again, soda can size speaker, it still is, I think, satisfactory in this budget price range. The transmission process isn't going to be quite as good as on some more hi-fi grade products in the market, but still, nonetheless, for something that is, again, more of a novelty type design, it is good enough, I'd say. And as far as FM radios are concerned, it also works, considering that the antennas here are all embedded. But surprisingly, it still seemed to do decent in terms of reception. Here in the Seattle area, I was able to get around 12 to 15 different channels and all played back in relatively good clarity for things like different talk shows, news, as well as some music over the air. And as for navigation in the radio mode, you can tap on the mode key once and it will automatically try to scan through available channels and then lock into ones which have higher quality. You can then tap on it again to continue playing that particular channel, or of course you can use the arrow keys to go through channel by channel yourself. The volume dial still works as expected. So that is more or less it as far as our quick hands-on review of the AS31. It is again a bit on the larger side compared to the other mini speakers that we've seen previously in this category, so it's more, I think, best left onto a tabletop as opposed to being carried around anywhere you go. But again, if you are a fan of this really retro theme and vibe, then this could be worth considering just as kind of a fun novelty speaker at the end of the day. You can check out more details if interested in the links down below. For now, that's been our video. Thanks for watching here at OS Reviews.